Universe, it's the end of the world. Under no circumstances will you take your blindfolds off. Do you understand? Whatever you do, do not take your blindfolds off. It is the end of the world. You must save yourself. If something happens to me, Universe, you must save yourself. Now repeat after me. You must save yourself. What's up, Universe, and welcome back to the web's first must-see comic and nerd culture show. Welcome to Comic Universe, guys. I'm your host, as always, C-Dubs, and I'm riding solo on this video. And guys, we are coming to you here at the end of the year to give you the final hit smash of the year, if you will. Netflix's own Bird Box, starring Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich. This movie, basic premise of the film, if you will, some sort of entity, alien creature, spiritual demon, if you will, have invaded the planet, essentially. And if you take a look at them at all, if you see them with your naked eye, heck, it doesn't even have to be your naked eye, it could be even on a TV screen. If you see them in any way, it shows you, if you're a stable human being, it shows you your absolute worst fears and causes you to kill yourself. If you're already a little loony in the head, or just seemingly evil in any way, you yourself kind of become, I would say essentially a part of their army, a part of their followers. You kind of get twisted, see their beauty, and want to kill others instead of yourself. And, man, what's to say about this movie? You know, as always, guys, we're going to give you the good, and we're going to give you the bad, and we're going to give you the badass. The good is the acting and the cast of this film, if you will. I gotta say, it's top notch. You got Sandra Bullock, John Malkovich, and I even made a comment to the wife. I was like, "Wow, it's like, you know, Machine Gun Kelly got annihilated by Eminem, and now he's found his way to the end of the world. This really is like his career, if you will. It's just here one day, gone tomorrow," and that's exactly what he was in the movie. Not quite sure what or why they thought it was a good idea to have Machine Gun Kelly in there, but he was there, and I guess for what he did, he was okay, but he was literally there 1 second, gone the next. And I got to say that overall, I really enjoyed this film. Again, parts of the good is the premise. The premise and the idea of this movie is really good. In the vein, and especially in the wake of A Quiet Place, where it forced you to not be able to use one of your senses in hearing, if you will. You had to be really, really quiet. And again, with the young lady being deaf, it just made things a lot more interesting. And they basically seemingly took this premise and kind of ran with it with not being able to look at them. And I think overall it's a good concept. I think the acting is great. And I think the atmosphere that is created in this movie is really, really, really good. You get this really heavy feel of isolation, of panic, of dread. I think everything that is kind of given to us on the platter of this potential end of the world scenario was perfect. And what's really funny is that since the movie's been out a couple of weeks now, and literally has hit the internet by storm, and there's several thousand memes out there already, so I have assumed that majority of you guys have seen it. So this might have some spoilers in it. So this is going to be my spoiler notice here now, guys. I may spoil some things. I'm going to try to keep it as light as possible, but it might happen. So within the film, we find out that these things, we only have to go off of what one of the characters in the movie said, were demons. Essentially, different cultures and time periods have called them different things, but essentially they all do the same thing. If you see them, they show you your deepest, darkest fears, and that's that. You kill them. One of the high points of this movie is that lore, the idea that this is what's happening. But on the flip side, one of the bad things is that we actually physically never get to see them. And it was kind of a detriment that when they couldn't use video to see them, that was really, in my opinion, a really bad moment. It would have been really cool if that was the only way we were able to experience them or see them. And they honestly should have at least showed us what they look like on camera, especially since he said it was a thermal thing. This way we would have known it was an actual living entity, which I think would have made it a little scarier that we couldn't see it, that it was so well camouflaged. Until when we saw it, it was, again, our deepest, darkest fears. Or if you were kind of crazy, a killer, deranged, or evil in any way, it seems that it would show you something absolutely beautiful and make you work for it and do its bidding, trying to get others to see, and or you would just kill them yourself. So it was really interesting concept. The execution is where we start getting to some of the bad. Again, the fact that they never actually show the creature was a detriment, because again, if they would at least shown us exactly what they look like in that video scene, right, at least we would have known, and maybe we never saw them again. Or if that was the only way they could actively see them without dying, we could have seen them until they all lost power, and then once they lost power, we're right back at square one, bringing on more tension within the film. So I think it was a detriment to not show us what they look like. And again, I understand sometimes when your imagination is left to its own devices, it creates something so much more horrific. Or if maybe we could have seen what they look like through the eyes of other people, maybe that could have been a really cool way to explore it and move a little faster. Now, we did kind of see what the crazy guy, kind of the things that he saw, because he drew them all on a paper, but that scene itself in the film was really, really fast. The guy they allowed in the house when the babies were born, or just before the babies were born, he drew all these crazy, eerie-looking drawings. And those drawings kind of reconfirmed to me what I was actually getting from this film. This film actually has a lot of Lovecraftian influence on it, for sure, definitely. You can kind of get the whole concept of a lot. If you're not up to date or not fully aware of what Lovecraftian is, it's essentially Lovecraft and his space horror novels, if you will, created these ancient ones, these gods before time and space. Their design and their body structures are so horrific that even the idea of what they look like would drive you crazy, drive you mad. And that's essentially what we got here in this film, so you can definitely see those influences. And if there was no influence there whatsoever, then I gotta say that it's just a hell of a coincidence. Now, again, some of the good, again, the acting and the atmosphere, but again, the bad was such a detriment that they did not show the actual creature again. And I gotta say that in terms of the children actors, since they didn't say very much, they relied heavily on maybe the way that they were to act physically. So I gotta give merits to that, because, you know, it's one thing to have a bad child actor or an unseasoned child actor in giving their dialogue. It's a quick way, but it's just as hard and difficult, if not sometimes more difficult, to convey the stress and drama and tragedy and fear without saying anything. And I think they did a pretty good job. Whenever they seemed out of place or out of water, they were just scared because they could not use one of the senses. Even though they were trained to do without it, you could see how their instincts were to rely on it. Now, some of the badass to this film is again, the concept is absolutely badass, but what is really, really interesting, and I don't know if it was just me, but I took a lot of symbolism from this movie, and I saw it from the beginning. Literally that, you know, from one of the opening scenes, again, we see when they're in the hospital, and you see the lady in orange, and she's on the camera and laughing, or when she's on the phone, and she's laughing and having a good time, okay, and being all happy, and then literally the roles reverse. She's the one scared, tormented, trying to kill herself. All the while, Sandra Bullock's character is just so afraid to be alone and not wanting to be alone, but actually being her own worst enemy by pushing people away and not wanting to get attached because she doesn't want to get hurt anymore. And with the movie being called Bird Box, and yes, I understand it's because the birds within the box that they carry in the film, but I found it really funny that she was always, for a good portion of the film, dressed in blue, and she had, even though it was fur, it kind of looked feathery tops to her jackets, and she kind of looked like a little blue bird, and it just was, the symbolism was really there and really heavy. And even, there was a scene where they're looking at some of the news reports, and you see this horse just running free and wanting nothing more than to just be free and escape this evil. Okay, the symbolism of her, she's just, not only now is she stuck in her own mind and own head, okay, with pushing everybody away, but now she's isolated from the world, okay, and making it even harder for her. So I really took some of that, and again, it could have just been me. I don't know if you guys got the same thing, but it really spoke to me in that regard. But overall, I gotta say, in the beginning of the film too, and this is a big spoiler because this is kind of where it ends, and kind of wraps things up, is I question, well, what about blind people? Okay, and at the very end of the film, that's who actually comes basically and saves the day, if you will. She arrives at an institute for the blind, okay, and they're just not affected by these creatures because they can't see them. So their weakness actually turned out to be their greatest strength and has allowed them to live and live a pretty normal life. But overall, I gotta say, guys, if you have not checked it out, it is on Netflix right now for streaming, so go check it out. I would say it is definitely worth a watch and decide for yourself. I think the internet is kind of split down the middle, between as middle as three ways can go. Some people liked it, some people just don't really care for it, and some people just thought it was absolutely hilarious, and now we have so many damn memes about the damn film. So I gotta say, Universe, go ahead and check this out. I myself would give it a solid 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know what the Rotten Tomato score is. I did not check, but I gotta assume it's probably somewhere in the middle. I can definitely see this not being everyone's cup of coffee, but if you're a fan of horror and you're a fan of science fiction and just, post-apocalyptic movies or just the brink of apocalypse, those type of isolation movies, this is definitely going to be right up your alley and worth at least a watch just for you to make up your own mind. So, alright, Universe, so if you like this video, go ahead and give this thumbs up if you will. Don't forget to click the notification bell if you haven't already, and subscribe if you haven't already, guys. Happy New Year, guys. As of this video, I think it's the 30th, so we got one more day of 2018. So let's make it a great one, guys. And until next time, I'm C-Dubs, and I'll see you in the universe. You got to survive without me. Save yourself. Peace.